All right. So that was a little bit of spastic meat splatters. We are here with iNi. How do you want to pronounce that and say it?
I just call it ini. You know, like
Any?
those files in Windows. Yeah, those ini files. That's actually where it comes from.
I just thought you reversed the
Well,
nine.
yeah, that was a play on that as well. But actually, my wife came up with that logo when she was playing on Excel, and she just like blanked the tab, and it came up like that, and it just worked. So, and I figured, any file back in the days, you used to be able to enter all sort of commands on there, and you could just like hack your game or just like hack the variable in the Quake engine and stuff like that. And I figure, you know what, that's pretty great because I can do multiple type of music. So I'm a sort of command center myself. And plus, I really like Nine Inch Nails. You guys should know by now because this is actually, it sounds a lot like Nine Inch Nails sometimes. So, yeah, that's all where it comes from.
Dude, it definitely sounds like Nine Inch Nails at times. So I guess let me intro that with asking, prior to diving into the actual thought process and composition aspect of working with on this Incision project, what would you say your main influences are? Maybe your top 3 favorite albums, things that actually stay with you sonically.
Well, hey man, that's a hard one to start off. All right, so look, basically, I come from a metal background, right? I grew up listening to like Pantera, Megadeth, Metallica, like every kid who's like 10 years old. That's like the first band you listen to, I suppose. Then I got into jazz fusion, like Alan Holdsworth and stuff like that. By then, I must be like 15, 16. Dubstep starts happening. I was born in 1990. So in 2005, 2006, dubstep started appearing. I'm just saying all that so you guys get the gist of like where I'm going with that.
I'm an 89er, so I get you.
Yeah, so after that, yeah, dubstep. So I had a like short dubstep career that lasted for 5 years or so. I had like multiple releases on vinyl and stuff, and I played clubs and I had my fun. I lived my 20s and all that. And then I stumbled upon Nine Inch Nails, like really super late actually. I was like 25, 26. And then from then on, that was just like the hemoglobin guy in Incision. You just want the fucking needles in your arm, and you want some more Nine Inch Nails and more Nine Inch Nails. So I started biting a Trent Reznor sound, and that's it. But as far as the album goes, because of what I just told you, they always change, But stuff like Martyr, which is a band from Canada, which is a technical death metal, like avant-garde jazz fusion with technical metal stuff. So Warp Zone from Martyr would be one of those. I could write it in the chat because maybe the pronunciation is just a bit busted. I'm French, by the way, so
like that's why I didn't want to pronounce your name and mispronounce it, So I was like, oh boy, he's French. He's gonna get on my ass about it,
No, I don't mind. My name in French is Frédéric Chicoine, but everybody says Frederick, And as for the second name, I don't know, man. You say what you want. Frederick Duder, I don't mind. It's fine. But it's Chicoine. Or Fred. Or just dude. It's fine. I have no problem.
I got you, man.
So, yeah. So, Marseille Warp Zone definitely is top 3. I will have to go with Peace Cells from Megadeth. Top 3 album. And then there's a Nine Inch Nail in there, but it always changes because as you grow old, at first I really like the Downward Spiral, but I'm not angry anymore. I'm a peaceful dude by now. I'm almost married. My life is going well. I love my parents because I'm old, so I'm not pissed at the world. So I would have to say it vacillates between the Fragile and Add Violence EP. Both of these sound palette wise, they're just like the best damn thing ever, sound wise. Yeah.
Dude, so, let me tell you, somewhat damaged. As soon as that track comes on, oof, and there's a Rocket Arena 3 map for Quake 3 called Somewhat Damaged.
Yeah.
And
I think I know it. Is it the one with the big face? You go down the boat pathways. There's like a body armor there with a face. I don't, man, that was like 20 years ago.
It's a super small map, but yeah, I mean, I used to crank that track while playing it, and Yeah, it's great how the industrial and dance. At that point, it was more dance and arena shooters like Quake 3, Rocket Arena,
Unreal.
and
Yeah.
Unreal Tournament kind of popping off, right?
Of Unreal. Actually, I haven't said that to Smoothbrain, but I need to tell him that I think you rip off. You know that the gun, the not the glue gun. Was it the bio gun in Unreal Tournament that you just shoot and it goes like this? Kitty.
A
bit like that.
The goo gun. Oh yeah, Kitty.
Yeah.
The goo gun. Yeah. I loved the goo gun. In UT3, man, I could track anybody with that thing. Love it. Kitty's great in Incision. So I guess we'll take that sort of that Nine Inch Nails talk there, then move into this next territory, because the first thing that people have related your work on Incision to is Trent Reznor's work in Quake 1.
Yeah.
So that's super high praise, and
yeah, could be better actually. I'm floored by all that, to be honest with you.
Right on. And it's like, so I guess, how did you get this gig? And when you were kind of looking at the assets and thinking like, did you know from the start that it was going to feel kind of like this kind of like Quake 1 meets your other inspirations and your own touch? Or was it something that came to you as you saw the geometry, the levels, and the awesome art design and whatnot? Were you in it from the start? Did you come in later? Fill everybody in on that.
No lie, I knew from the start what I wanted to do with this game, like music-wise. What happened is that I played the demo on iNi, I think it's called. I don't know if people in the chat can remember that. Before it was on Steam, it was like on a distribution site for demos. And I was just going through the FPS horror. I always wanted to score music. And I just never took the chance to be like, oh, I'll just hit up this studio and ask them and just send them my song, because I never had a portfolio per se, right? So what happened is that I played a demo, the aesthetic was already what it was now, bloody red meat and just steel growing from skin and stuff like that. So everything was already in place, and the music was already good because if I remember, his brother was writing the soundtrack, and it was more akin to what people are used to in boomer shooters with metal and just genty stuff. And looking at the aesthetic, I was like, man, this could be something else, reminding me of Quake 1, of course. And I just hit up the guy because he had his email, Sammy. And I said, hey, look, man, I think Sammy finished with 1990, which was the year he was born, just like me. So I kind of connected him through that. And
there was a sign,
sent him a message. Sorry?
That was a sign right there, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's, oh man, I like Quake 2. I'm not a fan of Quake 2 per se. I don't think it plays well nowadays, but Quake 1 will always be, it's still installed on my PC and I play it like at least once a week, And with all the updates now, anyway, I'm going left and right here. So I told Sammy, I was like, hey man, I'd like to write the score for your game if you want to. And at first the gig was, I was supposed to take part of all the ambient soundtrack, right? No fight team, no nothing. But as the game grew and Sammy worked, he was working all the time. He's always working on this fucking game, to be honest with you. And so am I. And it became this big thing. And I think his brother didn't have enough time to play and to write the music for this game, right? So I sort of took over, and it kind of worked for me because I wanted to show like the other side of, look, I can write some cool teams, but I can also wreck your face with these crazy sounds without having too much guitar in it, because that was my main point, was I don't want to be Mick Gordon or Andrew Ocho. I love these guys, but I don't want to be that. First off, it's not who I am. So I want to be more on the experimental side of things, and just unleash different, like it was back in the day, when you play a Command and Conquer, even Total Annihilation, man, I had a crazy soundtrack and, games like that. So
TA is great. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, nobody plays that game, man. It's crazy. But the skirmish was so great. those fights could go on and on. You could have games for like 5-6 hours, and the music was just looping, and you just had fun. And it wasn't metal, you know. It was just sounds, just like StarCraft, you know. StarCraft is a big thing too. Like
that's an easily that's a memorable. You know, it's like E1M1 is a song everyone knows. You know, like the Star Trek. Excuse me, StarCraft. Just as you're building, everyone knows that jam, right? It's just
exactly. You know these sounds, and most of the Incision soundtrack is based off this cliche from back of those days. I even rip off Golden Eyes at a few points. Like same sound, even the same melody. The intro, actually, the second part of the intro, when you think about it, is like in Midgar in Final Fantasy VII. These are the same notes in the intro, man. Same. So there's a lot of small picture built onto the soundtrack that just reminds you of old days. At least to me, that's what I try to do. I don't know for you guys, but that's the main thing here. Work with cliche from back in the days.
The Midgar FF7 reference there, because I'm trying to think which tune it is. It might be when you're climbing up in Shinra, but it's got the whole.
Was it the after at the wall market, or really when you're climbing up Shinra?
It's either wall market or as you're climbing, where it has this. If you're familiar with Rainbow. Stargazer, Ronnie James Dio is the lead singer. That doesn't know. All right.
Yeah. I know Ronnie, but not particularly that.
Okay, well, later on I'll toss you the track Stargazer. Sure. It has this whole sort of. It's pretty much close enough to the same key as well. It has like the same vibe, and it everything pulls from everything else a little bit, just enough. I know
you don't rewrite
history. You steal stuff and make it your own. That's basically what we're doing all the time. You can't really write something fresh. It comes from somewhere. Just like the boomer shooter, it's exactly a good idea, because what do we used to play 20 years ago when we were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old? We used to play boomer shooter, and now we grew up, and we're 30, 35, 40. People want to make that sort of game because that's what they liked and they're accustomed to when they were younger. Same as when they say your musical taste doesn't advance. It's stuck around like when you're 17 years old, right? And then after 17, you're only going to listen to the album that you listened prior to being 17. And I think, there's a pattern there. Just there's a wheel, of stuff. I think it's interesting.
That's fascinating, because outside of, same artists, if they have a new LP that's actually good, I end up jamming to it and listening to it. But yeah, you're right on that. I'm stuck on the same stuff I've been for the majority of my life, for better or for worse. I naturally turn on to other things, but it's not the Desert Island pick. It's not the
we all
feel good.
We back home. We come back home sometimes, and it's okay.
Talking about coming back home now, for me, you were talking about the Fragile. That I have a huge right, like it's just such a great album, and to me, track 15 for map 6, The Caverns, Tremors. That track I felt like had this kind of like fragile to like maybe year zero kind of vibe to it. I love that one. That may be tied for my favorite off the first episode's music thus far. And I guess like take that track as an example, and what were you thinking? What were you going for? What were some of the plug-in sounds and synths that you used, and how long per track did it take you think? Was this the largest production?
Well, as far as synths, I bought lots of synths for this album. I bought a Moog DFAM for percussion because I knew I didn't want normal drums, Of course, I used Superior Drummer on it. and you can probably hear it when there's a few metal part with blast beats, and it's all superior drummer, but I run through a lot of decapitator and trash plugins and custom distortion. I have an old bus rack, a GX 700. I run a shit ton of stuff through that because it sounds a lot like the broken era from 9 Inch Nails, like distortion wise. So I like that a lot, of course. But and yeah, I have a Resonant Garden as well because Trent Reznor bought one. So when I saw him doing the Gone Girl soundtrack and he was just like tapping on the, well, actually it's just right there. I'll unplug it. Like this thing. It's super weird, man. Just you have a bunch of knobs and a tactile DSP on there where you can just add effects and filter. And these are actually guitar strings that you scrape, and then you can tap on it and you can loop stuff with it. It does a bunch of crazy sound that you hear, mostly in the
That's great.
The Metropolis city use that a lot when you go in the tunnel. All these stuff, like just you know, I call that ear candy. It's all from that stuff, so I use percussion.
Right, like that. That's a great, you know, piece to have as you're working on this, because it has, you know, you're able to have that tactile sensation. Yeah, the patch cables, you can daisy chain it, and yeah, working with that's great. So you got the drums. Sorry to, you know, chime in there. Continue.
Oh, it's all right. We're talking. That's what we're here for. But yeah, the DFAM, I have a Korg mini lug that I use a lot for, well, again, the Metropolis City use this a lot. But apart a Neutron and there's some old school like Super Bass Station rack, a GV1080. You know, it's just tools. And yeah, I use that. And of course, plugins like everyone, you know, like the UHE suite, the Arturia suite. And most of my sound design come from just granulizing stuff, you know. I sample myself and I granulize it and I put that shit ton of the effect of it on it. I just want to make sound that doesn't sound like what I started with, you know. It's like the Feral Armament bus team. Like there's plenty of guitar on there, but pretty sure you're gonna have a hard time trying to find out where's the guitar, because it's just like the sound is. It's mangled to an extreme point with LFOs and stuff that it sounds like a synth patch at the end. And that's what I like to do. Maybe I'm complicating myself when I'm doing stuff like that, but all good sound comes from experimentation, you know? That's what I think. I don't like to use custom. You just like, oh, here's a square wave and a filter, and you just go whop and add a distortion on it, and you... It's not my type. I like to work sound a lot until I'm dead.
Yeah, no, yeah, you have to make it your own naturally. Like a neat thing I used to do was just, you know, I have a Roland Vitor drum kit. That's what I drum through. I use Superior Drummer as well, right? And I would just like add like a white noise to each kick or something like that. So just like white noise, static, ching, something like that. You know, just get some ambience going and get some mood going, and then build from that. And yeah, man, you know, just like the smallest things that can help like an input, or while editing, when you figure something out and you're like, oh, if I start doing this in these, you know, in a different sort of timing above it, maybe it's like an odd time, you know, odd time signature or something, that it ends up just being ear candy that has a rhythm, you know, like you feel it a lot throughout this album. And it's a journey, and you know the game's a journey. So episode 1 thus far, you know, I was fortunate enough to have 3 days in advance playing it. They dropped the boss a day prior to launch, so you know, did that, and I got to hear that music as well.
That song, because I made it like
the boss dropped, and I did the song. I think I sent it to Smooth Gray at like midnight Montreal, but like America time, and he lived in Finland, right? So I went to bed, he woke up, he pushed the update button, and then you guys had it, because I had to write the song for that. We had a fuck up with the schedule, So I was working my career job, and when I came on at like 6 or 7 p.m., I sit on the computer just to finish the soundtrack. Like super crunch time, but it was worth it. And that bus comes from an old session that I play with the GX 700, and just like some custom YouTube samples of drums. I sample a lot from places. I also have this hip hop background to me, like old school hip hop. So I just try to grab from everything and make it my own. Battle for Spice, dude. Doom 2000.
There you go. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
I have a note that I need to talk about the rust on my fingers, because this was the video track that you released with it, and it has a different audio quality to it. It's almost like an odd punctuation, or it has sort of an eerie effect, but it's grating in a good way. Like when I reached the grafted throne, right? When I got to that part of the game, right, and that starts playing, it fits. It's interesting. It's simplistic compared to other things you're doing, but there's so much room and space going on to allow some bouncing and reflections. So take me through that.
The actual recording you're talking about the acoustic track, or the when there's the Doom-like story going on with the piano?
So the acoustic guitar track first, and then to the piano track. Perfect. Which is also atmospheric and fantastic.
Yeah. Well, the rust on my finger was just an idea that I came up with because I wanted to make the actual incision themes longer. Something more akin to like Doom 3 themes, where it starts super heavy and then it goes, but just like the Ranger theme as well from Quake, when Trent just start going in fucking reverb drench, and you just have these ominous pad going on. So I wanted to do something like that with guitar. But it didn't happen. So what I did was I wrote this cute interlude bass. It's actually the same chords as the main title. It's just played in a jazzy way with some cute melody, because I wanted really to have the player unstressed, because the whole playthrough, when you go to Incision in a single setting, it is quite an anxious experience. It's a hard game. First off, you're always stressed because you don't want to die, because there's no save system, and the music is just there to punch you in the guts because it's anxious, just like Quake was. There's some tunes in Quake that you can't hear because it's just crazy sound and weird stuff that you never hear elsewhere. So at the end of the episode, I just wanted something to calm down the player. And I figured that it could be funny and super contrasting to have like, hey, everything is good now, But then it switched back to the main theme with there's a bass drop, and you have these the team from the beginning start playing but still acoustic guitar. And I had 2 guitars on this one. The way I recorded that stuff is I had a Rode NT1 going into an 1173 preamp. And I had the DI going into the other, the DI. So that was for the stereo track, because it's only one guitar for the chords, and then there's just like some harmonics being played in the background, and the melody, which is the same tracking. So you have one mic and you have one DI. And when the time comes for the team to come back, I took another guitar which is open tuning. And I think it was tuned to A. So I have a Fender with, I think the string gauge is like 5210, and I just...
I think I'm playing that on screen right now, that exact moment.
Yeah, you go ahead. I can't hear it, but it's fine. So the... It is just like super open chords, that I'm just... Harmonics. Down, down, bow. With everything in the background going and the little melody. So it took, so this track took me like an hour to figure out what you like to record, mix, and master. It's not complicated, it's just like six tracks going on together with overdubs, and that's about it for that. That's the story of the rust on my fingers.
It's a good story. 7047 there says a somber and lightly unsettling note on the last track. Yeah. It does have that unsettling tone. It's eerie. What do you think is the song that you are either most proud of or that you most like to listen to yourself from it? Like what's the one that you're jamming to?
I have dude, to be honest, I think it's Sparsely Deteriorating. Like that 9-minute, for me, this is like a 9-minute epic track. It starts with great sound design. It's the mini log just with the resonance filter going in distortion in the background. And then it builds up. You got a uprising. And the bass drop with the... I like that story because I come from dubstep and everybody likes fucking whoobs, whoop whoop. So
you gotta have the whoobs, the wobble wobble.
Oh yeah, man. And then after that, I think there's like some guitar in the background doing some very atonal stuff. It's not in key, but it works, which is something I learned from a band. I don't know if you know Gorguts. It's a metal band from Quebec.
Black metal route, right?
Yeah, well,
it's more about progressive death.
Yeah, well, it's like avant-garde, just noisy stuff. But I'll show it to you after. And
was it Gorguts or no?
No, Gorguts.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said Gorguts. All right.
Gorguts. So Gorguts, the album Obscura, if you want to check this out. And it's really atonal notes all the time. And nothing makes sense, but it makes sense, right? And then it drops down, and then there's like that. This is in that song that I just rip off Damn from GoldenEye, with the just like in GoldenEye, Anyway, so this, so this happens, and then just like everything builds up, it's going crazy. You get the guitar shredding tone, and then the super fucking groove, just like Pantera would do, which is super nice. And then it drops back to like Fragile Era with just like a bum 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 bum, just a bass, like a super stabby bass and like good drum and just guitar particle on top of it. And I don't know, it's like everything that I like in music and every genre mashed together to my liking. So I really like this track, Sparsely Deteriorating. And that level, the Field Pit, I think is a level that everybody likes a lot. It's so like with the corridor, the lava tunnel, and everything it works perfectly for the
lava tunnel's great.
So I like that track a lot. But the Caverns Tremors is also my favorite, to be honest with you.
Great taste then, yeah. I've been playing the Sparsely Deteriorating, and I picked it up, as I stated earlier. I mean, you hear it a lot, as you said in this song, that sort of like, it's either, I don't know if it's an electric piano sound, it could be a toy piano, but that's that very fragile, as it's going along. It could be a vibraphone, it's some sort of,
you don't know what it is.
Formulate.
That's the thing.
That's the beauty, though. You don't know.
Yeah, that's what I like. No, I don't want you to know what it is. I don't even know myself what it is. So there's no tricks behind the camera, man. It's all it happens and it's gone.
There's a real beauty to being able to create those sounds that you're saying, that that you're shaping, just like back in the day with just OG synths with patch cables, and you're using pen and paper to remember which setting for where which cable goes where when you got to tear down or whatever, and to be able to recreate it. Have you set up all your presets to be able to either continue forth on these tracks or perform them live or anything like that?
No. Not at all. I'm really not a live person. Like I do a live show for a living, right? I'm a video director, so I cut camera. I tell the cameraman, hey, take this shot, zoom in there. All right, do standby, take 3, stuff like that. So when I'm home, I don't enjoy going and watching shows because I'm really critical and being perfectionist in my craft. I really just like to make studio music. I try to make it live and you know, aside from DJing, not really my type of vibe. I'm so into sounds and the quality and the texture and stuff like that, which, you know, live it would just sound like a garbled mess. I don't know how 9 Inch Nails can do it, but they're more probably popish or whatever. But yeah, but I could probably make one. Like if I force myself to, I could say, all right, let's make that. But there's so much plugin and sound reconstruction going on, and I don't know, man. It would be kind of hard to do. Like I couldn't do like what Mike did for Doom 2016, right? Just going on stage and jamming, because my music is not like guitar based at first. You know? It's all patch based and texture wise based. So it's weird.
Dude, forming the texture for like texture based music. I mean, yeah, they used to be considered just avant-garde, and now it's more accepted to be in genres as like an art rock or art pop thing, you know. At least in maybe with the more modern electric and rock scenes. I mean, you know, there was always outliers, and you know, that got bigger. But generally speaking, and I think that's a positive, and we see a lot of it in, as you said, these boomer shooters. It's either metal or, you know, something that's way out and just more experimental. It's like a beautiful renaissance in gaming at the indie level, where
yes, it is, man.
You get these things going on with these mind-blowing games and soundtracks. It's a beautiful time to live, and it's a beautiful time to be working. So
it reminds me of the Doom era a bit, you know. Not that big, but I get a feeling that it might have been like this 30 years ago, you know. Like, look, man, we're doing cool shit and we're just having fun with ourselves. Nobody's trying to be better than anyone. We're just like doing stuff that we find is cool and giving it to people. There's no marketing behind that, you know.
Right,
the WAD era. Yeah, the WAD era, exactly.
There you go. Like I used to love playing like The Simpsons, Doom 2, and all that. You know, WADs, man. Chex Quest. So this may be a bit, you know, premature to ask, but I assume you have plans to either begin or you've already perhaps begun. But episode 2, what is the roadmap in regards to scoring episode 2?
I think it's going to be way more minimal than this one was. I want to do more. Look, all right, let me answer it this way. I had fight team in this game because I feel that you need to have fight teams, you know, with big chunky guitars and drum just going tack. But it's not really one I want to make. I love them tracks of like Quad Tetanus and Bastic Meat Splatter. I love them, and it's fine. But I wish I could do something more akin to what they did in Doom 3, you know? I don't know if you remember in Alpha Lab Sector 2 in Doom 3, there's like a big-ass red corridor with just blinking lights, and then you go in there and there's just like... And then you take the chain gun, or I think it's a machine gun, and then you just have the super like intense bassy sound going for like 30
right
seconds.
on.
It's like the kind of stuff that I wish I could be making, but I'm always going overboard and let me add this, let me add that. I like to do a lot of call and response in my shit. I could have like 10 synths and none of them are playing a melody because they all fitting together just like that, you know. So one is doing whoop, the other is going, and it's just squelch that together makes a melody, but there's no melody. So I want to write more melody for episode 2. I want some.
Okay. So now I often, at least, personally, I often get caught up in sort of like an insane pattern of it's some call and response, things like that, where each instrument's doing, or each sound instrument is doing something different in the same key, but just like they're all kind of like at war with each other to show off, you know what I mean? So, sometimes that happens to me. And when you have to sit down and actually be like, all right, I need to be melodic. I need to go back to the, I need to listen to some Beach Boys and some the Beatles a little bit, and then you know what I mean, like just that bass like kind of songwriting, and then apply it to a different genre or whatever approach that you would take. Do you think that would be an endeavor that would take less time to work on, or more time due to the I don't know if it's more out of your comfort zone, or if you're fine either way, developing and producing music that way?
No, because I actually have a very pop records that I never put out called Turbo Fantasy. And,
sick! All right.
It sounds like Fantasy Star Online. So think about these palettes.
Oh, that's rad.
And with pop music, So then maybe I might just upload it on Spotify before the end of the year. I must do it because it's really different. But like now I'm trying to cater to a crowd, and try to sort of make the Incision is like my portfolio for game music writing. So to answer the first question, do I have project in front of me? Not right now, because it was quite taxing to do. The game is like 2 hours and it's like 1 hour and 15 minutes worth of music. How fucking overboard I went with that project. But
that's a really fair point when you think of it. You get so much out of the soundtrack. The game's fantastic, but the soundtrack's that's really my highlight. And you get like equal amount of gameplay time as you do to music. That's good on you for that, man.
Yeah, I'm very proud of this, but like episode 2, I'm probably gonna dumb it down by half, or not dumb it down because it's a passion project, So I don't want to half-ass it, but I just want to make it, maybe more with texture, maybe more like Quake 1 actually. Quake 1 is just crazy when you play it. There's no music in there, aside from like a Parallel Dimensions, which I totally rip off on the Factory. It's actually the same track. It's just different bass. But so episode 2 should be like that. More texture, but to answer, will there be more melody? Perhaps, but I don't want to force myself because writing melody for such a game can become cheesy quite fast, I think.
Right on. That's a great response. And so do you remember prior to Doom 3 when Trent Reznor was still going to be working on it, and his mindset and idea was to basically mesh all of the sounds and music so that it is randomly generated based on, let's say, your footsteps, the environment you're in, and all that. And it could, basically they told him it couldn't be done at that time. But then, later on, Red Dead Redemption came out and everything was done in the key of, I think it was F-sharp major, something like that, where they were able to...
I didn't even know about that. I need to check.
Do you have a video for this? That's sort of
rabbit hole I like to follow.
I'm sure there's like, there's video essays on both these things. I love it. And so the first game to sort of take that concept was RDR, and it was that, I think, of the F-sharp, and all the tempos fit together, where it was either the same tempo or it was a chord, even if it was triplets on top, wow. So as you change the areas, it would just start layering on sound, or music as sound, and that was Trent's idea for Doom 3, and it didn't work out at the time. But I guess if they kept it all in one key, it would have worked. But he was probably, the notes and the sounds he was making was probably a little bit too out there to remain in one key at that time. But yeah, it's pretty
I
neat.
think
The weapons were more they were punchier, if I remember. I played that late demo, I think on the GeForce 3, man. On an old beat up fucking 800 megahertz. Those were the days, dude. But I didn't know about that. It's crazy, but I don't think we could do it with Incision. We have a pretty janky system for music implementation. We don't use Fmod. So we just work with triggers. So say, right, like the fill pit is a perfect example of that. When you start playing the level, there's like 6 songs playing at once. And it just crossfades into other parts. That's the easiest way we found. And at first, we were limited because we had to have the same bar. So say I have a 16 bar section. Well, just underneath it, I had to have the same 16 bar section for later in the game. But we figure out a way to have, okay, so this can be 16 bars, this can be 48, this can be 8, as long as it just loops. So we found out a way with Unity to just make it loops. He basically wrote his own script and music engine. And so that's why sometimes the cuts are harsh. But, you know, we live with that when we don't care because first it's a one-man band. It's a one guy doing everything. And I don't think we expect that amount of polish for one developer, you know? So, yeah, so that's the jankiness of it. So to do something like Doom 3 would be pretty crazy, but you know what? I guess I could be down to do that because as we mentioned prior, you know, working with textures and all that, it would be quite easy to just randomly generate texture, having actual plugin. Yeah. So that would work.
Yeah, I mean, the landscape's changed where that's, I guess, yeah, that's far more, you know, that's a line of code. I mean, that's wow. And so that's got me thinking. I was just so okay, so
deep people.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking about like, you know, what I'm going to be doing next musically. I'm like, I could, you know, just as you were, but like, okay, so currently what's playing there? Because I love this little part in MEATPAINT. Oh, it's about
Oh, dude, that was yeah. You know what this is?
The bass drum part's going through, or just the
This is the first time I plugged my Moog DFAM. That's what you're hearing right now.
I just like had.
I use Reaper, so I had just Reaper going on, and I was just patching the Moog and just playing with it. That's all it is. Same for the track right before. Was it? So Calm Yet. Dum 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 dum. It's a 5-minute improvisation from the Moog DFAM. All right, it's raw. I never like edit, and I did not do edit on it, and I just built a song on top of it. Like all the crazy fucking drums pattern, it's all from the same improv. So I didn't loop anything. I just write.
Right
so
on.
Super experimental, super experimental stuff.
I hear the run going right now, so I switched to that as you were saying, and dun 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 dun, and then you just got just in the background, just those little drum runs.
Yeah. So it's like another. It's 3 track of DFAM on top of each other, just like 3 improv. I was patching something. All right, let's do a bass line. Did a bass line. Let's do some harsh noise. Did some harsh noise. Let's do some beat pattern thing. And I put. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry about that. And I just like top everything on top of each other, and after that wrote some synth part and some weird sound, and you know, just to have the player bad trip like on acid or something. I don't know.
Sega Nomad says it sounds insane. It does, like the good kind of insane.
Yeah.
So, did you name? Okay, so Hole in the Sky. You know, naturally that's a Black Sabbath album opener. Was that the name of the map prior? So you just went with the name of the song, or was that
the name of the map prior was House Arrest? That's what Smooth Brain called it. And then the first thing you see when you go outside, apart from like the 5-6 enemies playing around shooting Plaxmal shit at you is like the big hole in the sky. So I just told her, hey, why don't we just call it the hole in the sky? And it makes sense, you know. You don't know what it is.
I'm glad he listened to you on that one. That's wise, because I love that name. I was like, that's a great E1M1 name, and it's a great E1M1 song.
Yeah. That's the only thing I did like on the creation side of game. Well, there's a few things here and there, but you know, we since he's working alone, man. I mean, I'm sort of an ADHD person. I always think about crazy shit, so I just send it to him, and if he decides to take it, then so be it. You know? And that's one of them, the hole in the sky.
Heck yeah, dude. So I guess let me open this up to yourself, and if chat has any questions, but if there's anything you want to touch up on, because this is your launch off. This is, you know, I mean, this is, in my opinion, and I know that you already basically stated the same thing to the degree that my understanding, this is your portfolio at the moment. This is your big release in this game and as an album, and you know, I'm happy for you because it came out so good. I'm genuinely a fan here, and
nice, man. Thank you so much. To be honest,
hey,
it's crazy.
You know,
these last 3 days have been super crazy, dude. Like super crazy. Like I talked with Andrew Holshitz like 2 days ago. I was like, what the fuck?
I just already
so
piled
fast.
on.
We didn't talk much. We didn't say anything
Yeah.
because we actually. Hyperstrange linked me to him because I wanted to release the soundtrack without having copyrights for you guys, so you can play the game and not be flagged as, oh man, you're playing this music, you know. So we do not want that. It will hurt sales. It will hurt marketing wise. People wouldn't buy Hyperstrange game, you know. We just want everybody to be on top of it and part of these things that they are creating, because they're basically having a lot of good games on their hand, you know, Hyperstrange and stuff. So he just linked me to Andrew so we could talk about how should I release it, and then it turns out we were saying the same thing. So we didn't chat much more than that. But yeah, I'm yet to talk with him and have fun, you know. Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, look, if I can make music for games, that always been a dream, right? That and scoring movie, actually just doing what Trent Reznor did, like Gone Girl, favorite soundtrack of all time. That would be top 5 album, man. If you asked me for top 3 out here, top 4 would be Gone Girl. Probably more so than the other one. I listen to Gone Girl all the time. My vinyl is almost scratched because of that.
Dude,
So,
I mean, scoring a game, you know, that seems to be the step prior to film scoring. So you may be onto something there. But I mean, that's, oof. I mean, I don't, you know, I know some people prefer game over film and vice versa, you know what I'm saying? But there's just a different, I shouldn't say that because I'm such a big gamer. I shouldn't say they're different on levels, but it's definitely a different approach, because one is it's more for the atmosphere and the interaction of the player to engage in, while the other is for the viewer to absorb. You know, they're absorbing those sound waves in full concentration without movement.
But you know, that's how I thought. That was my thought process for this, for how to arrange the game. You know, that I didn't want to just have music. Oh man, guns blasting, drums banging, guitars chugging. What's next, dude? Blood? So we wanted to have that. I wanted to have that for the game, because I went on Twitch the day of the release and the day after, and actually this morning. So every day I do my round on Twitch. I type in Incision and I go to people playing live, and I just ask them genuinely how they feel, what's their take on it. And people sometimes, even when I'm just watching and I'm not typing to them, I'm not saying who I am or what I did, because I'm no one, but what I did, and they just genuinely stop to when the music changed, and they're just fucking headbanging and enjoying, you know. And this is what I want, because it's rare in games that you have this feeling. It's super rare. I had it on probably The Last of Us, when, you know, the guitar at the end at the scene, but you can't even stop because it's cutscene over cutscenes, you know. So it doesn't work. But rares are the game where you can just like sit down and be like, I'm gonna press escape here and just listen to that track for a moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I did during my welcome to the Dojo of Wind there, Mythical. Thank you for the follow. Now you can use the special emote for today. So slam that and show support for our man here. So Frederick, basically, like, you know, I would no clip. For the press copies, they gave us a bunch of cheat codes if we wanted to use them. So I would hit no clip and I would go up in the wall. Oh, there, thanks for the spam there. And I would like unclip, so I'd be sitting on a pipe and I would just let the song play and I would just kind of look down every once in a while. Every once in a while, fire a rocket at something, you know, and just being like, all right, I'm digging this.
That was the point
The
of
video clip I made. With the little dude being like, my life is horse shit, you know, and he's just, there's close up on his face with the cute little guitar in a fucked up world, man, where everything is dead, you know. So I find it quite funny. I like just a juxtaposer of contrast like that. I think it's really fun. But for you to make that, I'm not even surprised, you know. And if people do that too, it's good thing, you know. I mean, we did something great. I suppose it's good. So quite proud to hear this. This is fun.
And so this is something that I intended to open with. But were you familiar with the prior projects that Hyperstrange had published? Because I've been covering their stuff since pretty much the opening, and they've been on a roll with just quality, you know, games, quality, a really great rhythm-based aim shooter, Raze, that I got addicted to with the leaderboards, and I was sniping out some people like Shroud from the, you know, getting them below me and stuff. So, you know, were you familiar with them and their work?
I was familiar with their name, the work, not quite, because I'm sort of a workaholic. So I don't really have much time to play. But now I have. No, don't worry. And I haven't, but now I checked a bit, and now I saw that they just released a Postal. I played that. It's quite funny. I love it.
That Postal's great. The one brain damage, the quick one movement.
Blood West, man. I tried Blood West, Tolik, but not my type. You know, I'm a no-brainer guy. I'm a no.
Yeah,
I work so hard when I come home. I don't want to be like
shit.
shit.
Need to think about this and that. So just give me a mouse and a keyboard. And I just want to shoot people.
Yeah, Blood West is more like the a successor to a game like Thief or Thief 2, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Which never were a game that I went into, Hitman and stuff like that. But funny enough, like big Tomb Raider fan, like I actually started Tomb Runner back in 2005. I used to do speedrun before, man. I think I still have the record for Prey. Not sure. I will need to check on the Speed Demo archives. But back in the days, I used to play Tomb Raider a lot, and it's always been my favorite game, you know? So
nice, all right.
Yeah,
I love speedrunning. My middle brother is big into Super Nintendo and N64 speedrunning. I'm more PC based and stuff. I've been doing some Diablo 1 runs not that long ago. Second place, I got. I was pretty happy with that. It is. It's a good one though. You know, those are the best ones to speedrun. You know, the rough ones.
Yeah. Just go down and down and down and die. You go down and die.
Pretty much, you know.
Yeah. I always think to myself, like, what would have happened if, like, Incision got released in, like, 1998 or something? That would have been crazy, dude. Because I remember when Blood 2 came out, and, of course, we all know Blood 2 sucks. It's not a good game, but it was so violent and so bloody. Just like a better example than that, dude. Same year, Soldier of Fortune. Remember that?
Oh, dude, me and my buddies we were playing the demo of it over and over again.
What a great game this is.
Subway.
It's so great. Pops! What? Just fucking rip arms. That was great. Like, imagine this Incision got released prior to those days. People would be crazy. It's like to think sometimes.
That's a good point. I mean, like, if that was put the same release month as Daikatana, you guys would have crushed Romero. You would be
like, who's
Romero's bitch?
Yeah, who's the bitch now? No, I don't think it would have been like that, but yeah.
If they were released at the same time, you guys would have gotten, the gold, editor's choice as they were ripping apart Daikatana, you know.
Yeah.
Your AI works.
we'll see where this goes, because so far, I've watched the Steam review, and it's been epically super good, which is a good thing. Apart from like people blasting the save system, which you can't please anyone, I suppose.
That is like the only complaint. That's the only complaint I've seen is people saying they want a save system.
Yeah, and maybe easy is too hard. Well, okay, I'm sorry, but this is like the Dark Soul of first-person shooters. So
yeah, don't hurt me, Daddy.
Yeah, with the milk. We'll see. I mean, I'm super, super hopeful for episode 2. I really can't wait to get on that. I already have some like small demos of just like crazy sound that I wanna put on. Like big super bass drop that just reverberate. Just stuff like that. It doesn't even have to be musical. It's just vibes and mood all the time. I want vibes and mood on my bread. That's what I want.
Yeah, like really thinking about Quake 1 as an example. When you hear the zombies, and then you hear the sound of the pineapple, ding, 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 and just the washing, choral ambient, soundscape that's going on. The distance, a mob walking. It's all rhythmic. It's all musical. It's all atmospheric, and it's beautiful. So I'm happy that that's the route that you took, and that's the route that you're going to continue to take. And sort of explore that further, and celebrate good times, man. This is an awesome launch. You kicked ass.
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much. Well, man, first I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. That was I had a blast. I had fun. I came in unprepared, but it's fine, I think we had a good chat. I'd like to thank the chat people, everybody who bought the game. And man, I just hope that this is something you're going to listen to, and or at least if you don't listen to it, appreciate it. And if you don't appreciate it, and it's fine too. I don't, not gonna come knocking at your door, dude. So yeah, it's thank you so much, and really thanks. Very grateful for all this. Don't know what to say. I'm just repeating. I'm a broken player by now.
Dude,
Thank you.
You're a fun broken player, though, man.
So you know what? This remind me of.
They called in Dead Space, So, dear Isaac. Oh, Isaac. Oh, shut up, bitch.
That's a great game, but yes, exactly. Eventually, that's the disconnect. Is the fact.
Make us old. Yeah. Shut up. Let me shoot thing. All right. But yeah, that's it. So enjoy the album. I'm gonna stay with you. I'm gonna listen to it off camera. I'll be in the chat.
Oh, groovy. All right, man. All right, enjoy. So
all right, man.
Relax with them, and thanks again, Frederick.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Brother.
See you soon.
See you soon, buddy.
Ciao.